What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Skyrim Special Edition Mods. This is a series where I show you guys some of the best of the mods to come out each and every week for Skyrim Special Edition. This week was a pretty massive week. I think in total we actually got something like 1,500 mods. Right now we're sitting a little over the 2,000 number, so obviously it was kind of hard for me to figure out what mods to include in this video because obviously I can't include 1,500. So what you're going to see in this video are some of the mods that I think are mods you'll download and probably keep installed and activated for the entirety of your playthrough. These are really the top-notch of the top-notch mods. I do encourage you guys to consider subscribing if you're finding trouble yourself finding some good mods. I do have a series called 5 Cool Mods where I've been posting and kind of scrubbing through a lot of the bad ones and showing you some cool ones. But with that being said, let's get right into it. So the first mod we have is probably one of my favorite mods for Skyrim Special Edition so far, and that's going to be Vivid Weathers. Vivid Weathers is one of the better weather mods out there for two reasons. One, it adds in a massive amounts of different weathers. So it's not just going to be kind of like, alright, so you're going to have a dust storm now and some different rain. It actually changes even clear weather. So there'll be different types of clear weather. When it's sunny out, it might be, you know, a little bit darker, a little bit brighter, etc., etc. When it's raining, it might be heavy rain, light rain, foggy rain. There are just so many different options with this mod. In total, it adds 500 different weathers, so these are going to range from, again, rain, snow, thunderstorms, just rainstorms, blizzards, snowstorms, clear, cloudy. That's actually only the first reason I really like this mod. I also really like the way it implements the actual vivid part of its name. Things are just more vibrant. It changes some of the visuals in Skyrim, modifying some of the god rays, not eliminating the god rays, but I just think it makes the game look better overall. The culmination of the different weather types as well as just the vivid aspect does make your game, I think, just look way better than a lot of the other visual mods, even on par with some ENBs, and all this comes at little to no performance loss. So all around, I think Vivid Weathers is a must download. Obviously, your opinion will vary with some of the other weather mods out there, but for now, this is the one that's getting my download. So maybe Vivid Weathers isn't quite for you. Well, on the other side of things, we do have True Storms, which is going to modify things a little bit differently. This isn't going to just add in tons of new weathers. It's actually going to add in only a few weathers, but have a high attention to detail to each and every one of those. It is much more immersive and lore friendly, not adding in anything crazy. Not that Vivid Weathers adds things crazy, but it definitely gives Skyrim a little bit of a different feel. True Storms is going to maintain the vanilla feel, but also add in some awesome sound effects. If you're walking around at nighttime and a thunderstorm does start, you're going to get scared. The rain and thunder sounds are very powerful and scary, and it actually adds a lot to the game. It makes weather feel like more of a dominant force, not just a passive thing that just happens to be going on as you're exploring. On top of that, it does change some of the ways fog works, as well as a lot of other features that just enhance the game and not just add in weathers. All around, it's a very cool mod. I would choose between either this or Vivid Weathers. They're pretty much the two premier weather mods, and it's awesome to see both of them coming out in the same week. So next up we have Vigor, which I think is the premier combat mod. This is the one I think is the best, most feature rich, and it doesn't totally change the way combat works in Skyrim, it just enhances it in many ways. So what does this mod actually do? Well, it actually does a lot, so I would definitely read through all the different changes on the post. It's actually very clearly laid out and nicely laid out, but if you're going to install this, it's nice to know what's going to do more damage and what's not going to do as much damage. So this is very much meant to snowball the fights in Skyrim. If you land a powerful hit, you may injure your opponent, and like there's actually an injury system, and then you'll obviously have a much easier time. It also works on the flip side. If you let someone get a good hit on you, you'll be weaker and they can take down you faster. It also just flat out improves the combat AI. There's a lot of little things, like if you're running at an enemy, you'll do more damage. If the enemy gets a flank attack on you, they'll do more damage. If your stamina's low, obviously you're going to be tired and out of breath, so you won't be doing as much damage, but that also applies to enemies. It's kind of hard to go through all the nitty gritty, but if you actually install this mod and just play it, you'll definitely notice a lot of these changes. Combat with this mod installed is much more difficult and honestly a lot more enjoyable. You really have to focus on landing your blocks and timing your attacks precisely, otherwise enemies will very easily get the better of you, especially at lower levels. So next up we have the Gifts of Akatosh. This is maybe not as blanket or as much of a just kind of massive overhaul mod as some of the others on this list, but I think right now this is the kind of nicest armor sword combination mod we do have. It does add in a few different things, including this nice heavy armor, that big shield, as well as 3 different weapons, including a sword, axe, as well as a hammer. All these are extremely high quality and they all just really go well together. This is a good mod to download and just use those armor pieces, at least for the time being, until we get a plethora of more, because there are a ton of different armor mods for Skyrim, but right now I feel like there aren't that many options, and I think this is the nicest and highest quality of them. On top of all that, who doesn't want to feel kind of like a badass knight? The armor's not overpowered, it's well balanced, and there's a good way to get it into the game. So next up we have Realistic Water 2. So this is actually the second edition of Realistic Water, but obviously the only one that's actually available on Skyrim Special Edition. Well, this does actually some simple changes. Basically just makes the water look much more realistic and honestly just a lot better. I especially noticed this with the still water. When you actually look at the new water versus some of the old waters in the vanilla Skyrim, I think it's a huge improvement there, although it does change all the different water textures, making them a lot clearer, and honestly they just don't look as shitty. I felt like you had this nice remaster of Skyrim, but then when you walked around like a lake or some of the different waterfalls, the age of the game really does show. Fortunately, we do have mods to fix that, and I think this is the one you're going to want to download for fixing the water textures. So next up we have enhanced blood textures. You may be seeing a little bit of a theme in this video, but nonetheless, enhanced blood textures just makes the blood in Skyrim look better, and by God does it look a lot better. It really just enhances them, making them much higher quality, and I'm not going to explain too much about this. It just makes blood look nicer. Similar to the previous mod, it's one of those things that when you saw the vanilla blood, you're kind of like, this is an old game, not a modern one. Well, fortunately, this is going to allow you to make Skyrim look even more modern, and it's just one of those mods you'll download now, install it, and hopefully forget about it and just play the game normally. Obviously though, enjoying those higher quality textures. So next up we have the Knight of Molag Bal armor. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Basically, Molag Bal is kind of something in the Elder Scrolls lore. He was like a Daedric prince in the Elder Scrolls and basically wanted to consume the souls of mortals. He was like a god type figure, I guess. Regardless, I think his armor looks pretty badass. Obviously, it kind of has a Predator feel from Alien vs. Predator, or at least that's the feel I get. Definitely wants to fit an evil character though. It does not seem like you're a good guy if you're wearing this armor. But again, it's a pretty cool armor. The sword itself does have some nice detailing on it. It does look really nice. And actually, throughout all these videos, if you notice as I do some of these close-up shots on some different weapons, if they don't look super good, that's actually because there's a glitch in Skyrim right now where if you're zooming in free cam, you can't actually see the highest quality. It kind of blurs things a little bit. But as I'm using it in first person, you'll be able to tell it's a little bit higher quality than you otherwise realize. Again, just a cool looking armor. Definitely worth a download, especially if you're an evil character. Maybe you don't want to be that knight in shining armor, but you want to be the knight in some crazy skull armor and kill people with it. So last but not least, we have the first kind of bigger weapon pack for Skyrim Special Edition, and that's going to be Lord of the Ring Weapons. Basically, this is going to add in, as you may have guessed, a lot of the different weapons from the Lord of the Rings series. Right now, I'm only showing you a dagger, Sauron's mace, as well as a greatsword, but it also adds in some different bows, and just honestly, there's a lot going on here. It's definitely worth a download, even if you want to just check out the weapons. They're all extremely high quality, and some of them even have some interesting features behind them, like Sauron's mace, as you probably can tell by this video. Again, all these are really high quality, and it really is one of the first big weapon packs, so very excited for that. I feel like we don't really have any of these, but I imagine we're going to be getting many more in the future. That's going to pretty much wrap up this video though, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this episode of Skyrim Special Edition Mods Weekly. As always, it'll be out every single Sunday. We have been getting a ton of mods lately, so hopefully next week we'll kind of have a more concise list and not as many blanket mods. Regardless, as always, I thank you guys for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.